Hello everyone, and welcome to a second royal reading today here at MadWorldTarot. And this is a truly strange story that has just come to light, and apparently, shall we say allegedly, Piers Morgan is open to interviewing Harry and Meghan, particularly Meghan. He was asked if he would ever reconcile with Meghan Markle, and he said no, but I would interview her. I would be open to interviewing her. And apparently, allegedly, Harry and Meghan are actually considering doing a sit-down interview with Piers Morgan. He's got a YouTube show, Uncensored. It's doing very well. This is just really strange news. I have the Radiant Wise Spirit Tarot on the tarot table. Words being used to describe a possible interview, 2-hour sit-down interview with basically their nemesis. Words are seismic, explosive, sensational, and they're considering it the shocking tell-all. They're considering it amidst what they are describing as a lull in public appearances. Harry and Meghan apparently are having a lull in public appearances. You could have fooled me. I think that I see them every day when I go online, when I look in the news. There they are at a party or giving a speech or carving pumpkins or who knows what they're doing. Hardly a lull in public appearances, but apparently they are actively considering this. As I say, nemesis. Piers Morgan is the one who was best mates with Meghan until she showed up in the UK to seal the deal with Harry, the has-been, close the deal, as her ex-husband has described it. And then she dumped him. She ghosted him like she's ghosted so many people. She's trampled over to get to the top of that greasy pole. And then, of course, Piers Morgan said after the Oprah interview he didn't believe a word of it, and he had a big hissy fit on his show, his morning show in the UK, Good Morning whatever, Good Morning Britain, and he was fired. She got on the phone and she got him fired, and his life fell apart sort of for a bit. But as I say, he's made a big comeback. He's now doing very well with this show Uncensored on YouTube. He's got huge viewing figures, millions of subscribers, and it's rather ironic that Harry and Meghan are the ones now falling through the cracks 5 years later, really struggling to connect with any audience whatsoever, and considering allegedly a sit-down interview, a 2-hour interview with Piers Morgan, who every now and then has a bit of a rant about them, not fond of them. So we're going to have a look at this with the Radiant Wise Spirit Tarot. We're going to just see if they really are seriously considering this, or is this just clickbait kind of rubbish in the British press, and why. Then we're going to look at feelings, Harry's feelings, Meghan's feelings about doing a sit-down interview with nemesis. Someone she got fired, and a why. There's got to be a why, a serious why. We're going to ask a general why, but a serious why for each of them. Harry must have something that he wants to get off his chest, and Meghan also. There's got to be some story, some narrative that they want to put out there, using a critic like Piers Morgan to persuade people of something. And so we're going to ask how they will come across and whether this is going to happen. So that's what we're reading on. Of course, it's tarot. It's fun and entertainment. It is all my opinion and all speculation. And I just read energy, and disclaimer in the box below. I think this would be really quite earth-shattering if it went ahead. I can imagine if it does go ahead, it will go ahead timed to clash with something really important that the royals are doing. Of course, King of Wands, Piers Morgan. That's his energy, got nowhere to fit it. I don't know what sign he is, but he's there, Aries, Taurus-y kind of a vibe that he gives off. So that's him anyway, because that's media. The King of Wands is media, and he is very dominant. As I say, he had a little moment where things weren't that great for him, but he's made a comeback, doing very well. And so he's very dominant, he's very powerful, he's very influential. That is the King of Wands, Harry and Meghan having to slink along and he be in the dominant position. Would they manage? Let's look at the heart of the matter. Ace of Pentacles, that's a big money card. The Ace of Pentacles, it's a new beginning. Always aces or fresh starts. This has got money as the lure. I'm sure they would be paid handsomely to appear. It's about the money. And a lot of promise, a big payday for Piers Morgan, a big payday for Harry and Meghan. Can you imagine? Break the net, basically. And a promise of further goodies, because the Ace of Pentacles promises you that you're on the road to, I was going to say the road to wellness. No, the road to riches, from rags to riches, and they certainly are in their rags at the moment, Harry and Meghan. So this would be a long-term benefit to them, long-term gain for them financially somehow, with that Ace of Pentacles, for me as an energy reader. So that's very interesting. Let's look at whether they are really seriously contemplating such an interview. Got the Five of Swords in reverse. This is putting down your swords, stopping fighting with someone. Perhaps Meredith Maines has advised them to do this, to stop being so aggressive and so hostile and feuding with everyone about everything. Lay down swords and make peace with a very influential King of Wands. It would be in their financial interests. Ace of Pentacles, do it. I don't think it comes naturally to Meghan Markle to stop feuding with people. We've seen it with her own father. She has refused so far to make peace with him, even though he has begged and pleaded to make peace. Yes, a difficult family, but just doesn't look good. So that's interesting. Why? We've already got the Ace of Pentacles on the tarot table, but why just generally would they be considering doing something like this? 10 of Wands. And it's because the way they have been operating has become increasingly difficult for them. They're more and more on their own, more and more isolated, more and more burdened with all this stuff, all this conflict, all this drama. Wands can be very much about drama, and they're carrying all this drama around with them. It's toxic. Nobody wants to have anything to do with people whose only narrative is whining and complaining, and that's particularly Harry. Meghan has tried to move on and portray herself as a domestic goddess, but it doesn't really fly when she falls out suddenly with like the crying makeup guy because he put something up on Instagram she didn't approve, and then they fall out with the Kardashians because they put photos up that Harry and Meghan didn't approve, and on and on and on. She's too she brings too much conflict to situations, and it needs to stop. They need to come across differently. Someone is sitting them down, and I imagine it's this Meredith Maines woman sitting them down and explaining to them step by step, you cannot carry on doing this because nobody likes it. Nobody wants to hear it. So let's see. Harry first, how does he feel about sitting down with Piers Morgan and doing an interview? So far, all Harry's interviews have been with sycophants, people fawning over him. That BBC interview fairly recently is a fine example of that. He hasn't sat down ever, I don't think, with a hostile interviewer, someone who'll call him out for his lies and his BS and his whinging and his entitlement and all the rest of it. So, how does Harry feel about this, just generally? Three of Wands in reverse, not a popular choice, not at all. The only reason he would do it is because he's running out of opportunities, possibilities in his life. Upright is a very positive card. It's hopeful, it's optimistic, it's expecting the good times, waiting for all kinds of blessings and advantages. It's in reverse. He's basically running out of time. He's running out of opportunities for to make good, to get good press and all the rest of it. He really views this as a very negative thing, something that he would only consider doing because all other opportunities have kind of withered and shriveled, and he doesn't really have an outlet anymore to express himself in a positive way. So that's difficult energy, it's resentful energy, it's simply because he's running out of time, he's running out of options, and nothing else is going well. So it's coming from a place of lack of choice and lack of possibility for Harry. What about Meghan? How does she feel sitting down with someone who still says, don't believe a word of that Oprah interview, and still goes on about he's so sick of her and fed up with her and all the rest of it? Knight of Swords in reverse. Also, something she doesn't want to do, because Knight of Swords is very aggressive energy. It's very quick-witted. It's repartee, the Knight of Swords. It's strategic. And I think she feels, Knight of Swords in reverse, that she can't control it. She can't control that energy, that wit, that banter. If he sets traps for her, verbal traps for her, she's not going to be able to think her way out of them. We've seen that she can't think on her feet. Knight of Swords thinks on their feet very well when it's upright. She can't do that. She's got to have her questions sent to her, or she's got to actually write the questions. She's got to learn her responses, practice their responses. There's been a lot of interesting body language analysis of her at that thing in Washington a few weeks ago, the Fortune whatever thing, when she was interviewed about being this brilliant founder, and body language people identifying little tells of when she was reminding herself answers. She's not spontaneous, she's not authentic, so she's very worried she's going to be exposed, she's going to fall flat, she's going to be caught out by this swift, very witty, very acerbic, very dangerous energy, Knight of Swords in reverse. So neither of them is relishing this prospect at all. I would say Meghan even more concerned about doing it than Harry. That's my opinion, of course. What about big reasons for doing it? Harry, first of all, what story does he want to get out there, or what version of himself does he want to put across that would make it worth his while to do this? We're talking hypothetically at the moment, of course. So Harry, we got the 8 of Wands in reverse. That's messages that aren't landing, that aren't reaching their mark, being blocked, progress that's being blocked. He wants to complain about the royal family and the fact that the royal family isn't listening to him. They haven't read Spare, they aren't responding to his messaging in the press. He's had very little access to them, very little response. Pa, very short meetings with Pa, never alone with Pa. Pa always busy. Pa apparently feigned cancer treatment to sort of wind the first meeting down with a has-been. Very angry and frustrated at how his message isn't being heard by his family. He wants an opportunity to sit down with someone like Piers, who's a Brit, who's very well connected with family, Fergie and the other princesses. They still are princesses currently. In particular, very close to them all. He wants a message conveyed, and this is the only way he can see at the moment for it to be heard. It's coming back in a way to that 3 of Wands for me. The 2 cards seem to be tied together energetically for me reading this spread. How about Meghan? What's her big story that she wants out there, that she would risk sitting down with this Knight of Swords in reverse? Ooh, the 9 of Swords. She's very afraid. Harry isn't as afraid as she is with this 9 of Swords. The only thing that I think sits in that 9 of Swords energy of stress and anxiety is titles. It's the only possible reason she would sit down with Piers Morgan. It's not about her business, it's not about her Netflix deal, it's not about As Ever and the jams and the candles with no wicks and all that sort of silliness. This is more existential, the 9 of Swords. This is, who am I if I don't have title, and if my children don't have a place in the line of succession, and I can't call them Prince Archie and Princess Lilibet? Who am I? It's reading like that for me, that 9 of Swords. She wants to put her case It's the only thing that feels plausible to me, because it's such extreme energy, that Nine of Swords. It's such difficult energy to risk being in such a hostile environment, unless Piers really it gives him softball questions and whatever, because of that Ace of Pentacles, that big payday for all of them. But then his reputation is trashed if he does that. We're hearing again about litigation, that she's claiming she will fight William in American courts if he takes her title away, because that's who she is, and it's her brand, and it's her money, and it's her business, and the rest of it. That's how I think that card reads. But extreme reluctance to do it. My opinion, of course. How would they be perceived, Harry and Meghan, if they did this? The Oprah interview, of course, was sensational when it first aired. People couldn't believe the things that Harry and Meghan had accused the royals of, the things that they were prepared to claim. And then, of course, time went by and people calmed down and began to pick holes in the narrative. And of course, now you can barely find that Oprah interview online. It's been buried deeply by Oprah Winfrey herself, allegedly. So how would Harry be perceived by the viewing public? Indefensible. Seven of Wands, a pathetic creature. That's how it's reading for me. Seven of Wands in reverse, of course. Upright, yeah. Making a strong case, defending himself vehemently and vigorously, and saying, I'm in the right. And I can't understand why I'm being attacked like this all the time, because I am right. But it's in reverse. He's in the wrong. And people will look at him and think, you wretch, you pathetic waste of space. Very vulnerable, very weak, really got nothing to tell anyone that they haven't heard 1,000 times before. He's not going to come across in a compelling and articulate way. Of course he's not. We know that about him by now. Unless the speech is up there on the teleprompter, then he's pretty hopeless. And even if the speech is up on the teleprompter, it's still going to be a pretty pathetic speech, in my opinion. How about Meghan? How would she come across to the public? How would the public perceive her? Would they have some pity for her in this circumstance? We've got the Knight of Pentacles. Again, it's coming through for me as business related. She's likely to do a lot better than Harry with that Knight of Pentacles. She's likely to sell a certain story to a fair percentage of people with that Knight of Pentacles. I would say people who don't follow the royals minutely, don't really understand what's going on, are going to be persuaded, at least for a certain time, by her story about her business, and she's just trying so hard to set herself up independently of the royals. And if they take the titles away, well then, you know, she's got to start all over again, and she's already struggling, and she's struggling to put food on the table because it has been so useless. You can imagine that she'll have a good go at him, because it's actually his card, the Knight of Pentacles, but she's expressing that energy. She's the one who's being hardworking and diligent and showing up every day and putting those wicks in those candles. You know, you could almost shed one tear from your left eye. So yeah, she's likely to come across better, at least initially. And I say that because of what happened with the Oprah interview, that everyone, it was shock and awe for a while. Everyone was like, oh my goodness, the poor thing, until they realized the poor thing had lied through her teeth, or through her veneers anyway. Is this such an interview likely to happen? Debating it. Two of Pentacles, they haven't decided yet. They're weighing up the pros and cons with this whole thing. And at the moment, there are far more cons than pros on the tarot table, both for Harry and Meghan, both of them dreading it. Do we really have to do this? And as I say, again, she is the one, ironically, that would come out looking reasonably good to people who lack a certain level of discernment and haven't followed the story minutely. She would come across looking reasonably hardworking and together, compared with Harry, who I think would just come across just looking like a fool, really. So they haven't decided yet. Perhaps not enough money on the table with the Two of Pentacles. Small offer so far. There needs to be a huge big payday. I do think it's possible for there to be a huge big payday for both sides in this, but they haven't got there yet. They haven't worked it out yet. Negotiating, I would say, deliberating whether to go ahead with this or not. It would be absolutely fascinating if they did. So come on, even if Megan gets a little bit of a shine out of it for a while, it would really be quite something to behold, in my opinion. That's the reading for today. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you again tomorrow.